From one tight road course to another, IMSA Vintage has left the mountains of New South Wales for the beaches of California. Who will be able to put two hands on the GTP Championship? And can anyone catch Joran van Hicks for the GTO title? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 5 of the iRacing IMSA Vintage series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and with me in the booth is Craig King. Our director is Christian Deploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. One of the most challenging road courses on the service, Long Beach has been a staple in the IMSA Vintage series ever since graduating from a tech track. To find out why, let's take you down to our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Long Beach. Nestled into the south side of Los Angeles and running alongside the Pacific Ocean, this street circuit has made the port area world famous. Both Formula One and IndyCar have called this 2-mile, 11-turn circuit home. Winning here has become a prestige worth boasting about among open-wheel pilots. Indeed, the winners list includes the likes of Lauda, Andretti, Unser, Montoya, Power, and many other legendary names in racing. Much like its European sister over in Monaco, it's short, tight, and punishing. But unlike Monte Carlo, this circuit emerged from a rundown piece of California coast to grow into the glamorous location it is today. Down into Turn 1 at the end of Shoreline Drive is where the majority of overtakes tend to be made. But sneaky passes can also pop up in places like 6 on the way into Pine Avenue, or Turn 9 at the end of Seaside Way. There's also two distinctive landmarks notorious for causing track blockages. The fountain section, with all its beauty, is a single-file affair save for the first lap. And the hairpin has been a staple here, even though it's changed locations a few times. In fact, that last hairpin not only includes the dangers of getting tangled with another car, but the important nature of getting the best exit you can to keep your rival from having a chance to pass you into the first corner. It feels appropriate that California's signature street track is a hop, skip, and a jump away from the beach. But while others might be trying to attack the surf, our drivers today will be attacking the corners instead.
Well, Craig, what we're seeing on screen right now is not what we're going to see in the sim, but how are these drivers going to handle the track today, not the weather?
Yeah, we'll get back to that very shortly, but this is the 50th year of racing here at Long Beach, and as you said, it's a classic street track, and it's delivered a lot of memories in this series. Slow corners, tight corners, and those bumps, they will not make the GTPs happy, but the speed will make up for it. The drivers will look to maximize time by attacking turns 8 and then into the Firestone turn at turn 9. But the slow corners, that will be the bane of the Nissans today. More about that, though, later, because we got to talk about the GTOs who love the flow of this track. Reducing the speed is the name of the game. For those Audis, those drivers will look to try and get the car slow down a lot to avoid the understeer in the first half of the track. And then when it opens up, the faster corners come, all that downforce, or that understeer, sorry, in the all-wheel drive machinery, that will come into effect. There won't be any cars going around outside of the hairpin. It's a danger corner for the day. You won't see a lot of overtakes here, not even in multi-class due to how tight it is. So let's get to the subject of multi-class, Adam. Nissans will have chances to make moves roughly usually turn 1, turn 8, and turn 9, maybe turn 10. It's that slow section, though, after the fountain that will hold the drivers up. With the Audis having those slightly faster speeds around those early corners, it's going to cause a lot of issue. Traffic, Adam, is the name of the game. One mistake, and it's going to look like it's Shoreline Drive during a rush hour, not during a racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. And these drivers are going to be wrestling with a lot of variables, and one of the variables they need to think about is the championship. Nick Makanos in the GTPs is tied with Brendan Lim. Brendan Lim's been very consistent over the course of the season, and Nick Makanos has been hot and cold, but fairly hot this season. Jacob Reed won last round, and that's brought him up within 2 points of our two leaders, with Krzysztof Lesniak only 5 points back, and Andres Valenteu swapping between the two classes this season and winning each round he's participated in, except for last week. Well, no, he won last week in the GTOs. He's down in 5th position. A little bit more of a distant 6th is Cal Young. He's racing with Dustin Herroder and Matthew Cockrum for 6th position. That's another 6 points back to Ryan Ware and Shady Ahmad, who are battling closely for 9th spot in the GTPs. But what about the GTOs, Craig?
GTOs, sort of a one-man show at the moment until we get the drop weeks figured in, but Joran van Hicks, Remember, he had that fantastic moment around here a couple of seasons ago. He leads the championship with Josh Brain just behind him. But look how close it is, trying to fight for the rest of the field. Schuster, Roller tied together. Great to see Roller back, but no Billy Roller this week. Valenteus is there in 5th. We won't be seeing him out there today. He's on a GTP. Mickey Friesen has returned from his week off. And that's going to be very interesting to see what he can do there in 6th. Rest of the field, oh so tight. William Richardson, again, not here, but he is in 10th. He's tied for 10th with Noah Lundberg, a name that I can't believe I have to say is in 10th, or in joint 10th, because Adam, that's a name we usually see a lot of. So it is still early days as we hit the halfway stage of the championship.
Absolutely. Halfway stage is exactly right. It is going to be round 5 of 12 for this championship. 40 minutes for these drivers. Open setup, set up the car however they like or dislike, with no spare vehicle, which is a shame around the tight confines of Long Beach. A drive-through at 17 inches and a disqualification at 25. No one's going to be hitting that if they're hitting the walls. They're going to be hitting major slowdowns and some repairs. Now, as we're about to head back to live pictures, you may see beautiful sunset here in our B-roll, but on track is actually going to be basically, if it could be raining, it would be raining. Unfortunately, the rain tire's not present on these vehicles just yet, but it's currently 99% humidity, 66 Fahrenheit, 68 Fahrenheit on the track out there, with winds from the southeast for 9 miles an hour. It's stormy out there in California, Craig.
It's a very stormy day. There's the yellow and blue car of Valenteus coming around to do some laps. I think this is the track he had to do some qualifying in. Looking at the stats this week, as we'll get the timing tower up, the fastest lap time this week in a GTP in quali, a 107.837 from Nicholas Makanos, who's currently pole position, and he's just done a 9.69 to end. And there's Cal Young as well. For the GTOs, just that curiosity, it's Cameron, a 1:16.089. So McCannell's close to that time. Noah Lundberg close to the lap record this week in the GTOs. If he just goes pole, we're looking at the high speeds that Cal Young has to do coming through Indy left, and then hard on the brakes for that brilliant camera angle. Look how tight it is. It just narrows up so quickly.
Absolutely. And you can think to yourself, oh, I'll do an over-under and get a good switchback. But in order to do that, you'd have to take it very deep, and then you have to cross while the other driver is very deep in the corner. Andres Valente is doing that to set up his first qualifying lap, but it doesn't actually gain you any time. It loses you about a second and a half. So trying to make a pass coming out of the hairpin is not the play. You actually want to give yourself a little bit of room so that you tuck right up under them as you come into the hairpin, and then get on the power on the exit and try and maintain position with the driver on exit. If you can only lose about 5 miles an hour on exit, then you're in a good position to make a pass through turn 1. As we're seeing Kim Andre Borkian coming across the line, setting a decent qualifying time for themselves. They're up to 3rd position is Kim. Great qualifying time there. Noah Lundberg on their 2nd lap right now. A 1:16.2 was their current provisional pole position time, trying to set a better lap time now.
Oh, he's not done it. I think he might have just done it. A 16.081.
Ooh.
He has just beaten the lap record this week on his last lap. What a lap that is. He's beaten it by 7 thousandths. That's not going to make Cameron happy. Where is Cameron? I think he's done his laps. He did. Not good driving there today. These are just some driving around laps for Noah Lundberg because he's finished up here. Such a quick time around here. You're looking at a delta of 10 seconds. Well, under 10 seconds for some of these cars when it comes to the delta around here. That's the response that I think Adam, he knows himself when he's in one of these slower cars. It's never good. Martin Krajcik just coming around as well. As he comes around this Indy left, you can take as much of that inside curve as you want. Kind of want to throw yourself wide because you get too tight, and that's what happened. You want to force yourself to go wide on the first part of the Indy left to cut in hard. You don't want to try and keep it so tight, and that happens when you come to the hairpin. So 1:17.827, not fast enough to improve. Man, JD Rodriguez as well. Some lap times coming out here by the GTOs.
Yeah, and then the GTP is Valenteus invalid on his first lap, so his second flying lap is going to be his only opportunity to set a good qualifying time. And around here, with the challenge that it is to pass, you really need a qualifying time in order to have a chance at the win. If he does not qualify this race, then it's entirely possible this is one of the races that he does not win this season. He's going for a win every round that he's in both classes, he crosses the line. Is it going to be good enough? It's a 108.36, so a conservative lap for him that puts him in third, though, to start.
Johan Van Hicks coming around as well for one last time. See what he can do. It's going to have to be a lap of the gods to try and beat that pole position time. And it's an invalid lap time. He's going to start in fifth. I was looking at that with Valenteus. We see Alex Mas come along. Valenteus started earlier in the week in a similar position. Had some fantastic battling with Jacob Reed before Jacob had a lot of internet issues and actually went off and used the runoff into turn 1 at Toyota. So the battle there was going to be really close by those two because it was Reed 1, Valenteus 2 to start the race. And they just had some really good trading. And an interesting fact, we've looked at the stats. Valenteus is on 25 broadcast wins in the GTP. 1 win today. He goes level in second in the all-time stats alongside Hugh Haycock and Keith Richley for second in GTP stats.
Absolutely. So a good opportunity for Valenteus to make some history today, but he's going to have to do it from the second row of the grid. Starting off on the first row of the grid for the GTPs is Nick Makanos with Jacob Reed next to him, starting off in second position. Valenteus lines up behind Makanos with Bjorklund lining up behind Reed. Gabri Martinez starts off row 3 with Cal Young next to them with Fabian Jungbluth and Farron Grau rounding out row 4. 9th goes to James Berry, and 10th starting off is Brendan Lim. Ryan Ware lines up in around the 11th position with Daniel Gomez next to him on row 6. Row 7, Andrew Petty, and Hennig Schweibig is going to line up on row 7 in 14th position. Dustin Heroder in 15th spot with Dimitri Zimin in 16th. And then we get Hamilton Barrera Ruiz and Colin Earl on row 9. The last of the GTPs is Javier Mascara, and he actually did set a qualifying time. So all the GTPs set qualifying times. I think that's the first time this season, Greg.
Yeah, not the same for the GTOs this time. Rare one to say about that, but it's Noah Lundberg. Lap of the gods today, fastest lap all week in pole position with JD Rodriguez right behind him. And then Jack David Spickett will be in third with Mickey Friesen in 4th. And it's Johan Van Hicks in 5th. And Yanni Cameron had the former lap record in 6th with Doug Cloud in 7th. Ika Costa Salo in 8th. Sam Skogard will be 9th. And Martin Krejcik will be 10th. And just one more page to bring you with Romain Bello in 11th. Ian Haycox will be 12th. Everson Golden will be here in 13th with Alex Mas in 14th. The Maximilian Tanga will be the last of the time qualifiers in 15th. Josh Brain and Carlos Fonseca not setting a time for 17 GTOs, 19 GTPs in a very foggy and a very humid track, but nothing like our grid photo.
No, not at all. Yeah, the 36 drivers out there today on what would be a rainy day on the beaches of California. A rare sight indeed, one that's happening a little bit more often these days. But as the cars get rolling, they're going to go up this drive here and then take the right-hander onto the back straightaway to start their pace laps. It's a very interesting pace lap here because the hairpin is so narrow. They usually go single file through there. And the GTOs, depending on who's leading, Noah Lundberg's giving it about 5 seconds, but oftentimes the GTOs will try and back it up so that they don't have to be in the middle of the hairpin or on exit when the flag goes green.
And during the week, the drivers have gone single file in the GTOs, so even though they'll take the green flag. On a Wednesday night, they took the green flag before entering the hairpin. Everyone's kept it single file. Fantastic. Similar situation on a one last race last night. Unfortunately, one driver did not get the memo, went for a couple moves straight in. The back of the GTO field got eradicated. It is so important the drivers are working together here. You'll see them all just come along. Once they get by, they'll go side by side for the GTPs. It's going to be very interesting what happens today.
Absolutely. It's often common courtesy to wait for the field to exit all of the hairpin before you go to the green flag. Nick Makanos not taking that common courtesy today. He wants to jump on Jacob Reed and Andres Valenteus. He takes as much as he can. But Jacob Reed in the draft of Nick Makanos, it's not going to be enough to get there before turn 1. But Valenteus and Kim Andre Borkelin are side by side. You can see Valenteus trying to take it deep into the corner. Has to leave the room for Kim. It's all clean and good through turns 1 and 2.
All clean good for the GTP. Not so good for the GTOs. A little bit of a hold-up. Driver having a mistake on the green flag for the hairpin. I believe it was one of the pink cars in the back. It may be Sam Skogan who had a bit of a moment, but the GTOs keeping it together at the moment, keeping in single file. Don't look to see any aggressive moves early on in these cars. They kind of want to just keep bunched up together, use the traffic for their advantage or their disadvantage. A little bit of a shake-up there from Rodriguez, but this is the battle we're all keeping our eyes on. Valenteus, he wants to try and keep up with Reed and McCannos. Earlier in the week, these two, they went ahead so early. Now you see Van Hicks trying to make the move on to Friesen or vice versa. Van Hicks gets by. That's the only overtake in the GTO so far.
Yeah, good work with Van Hicks to make that move. He's going to have to climb up to the back objective. It's putting some pressure on JD Rodriguez. JDS, I don't think I could be, correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, but I don't think he's won a race yet on the broadcast split. He's been right up there over the recent races, especially the last couple of weeks. He's just been so strong. So I would not be surprised to see him get that win sometime soon.
You are incorrect. There is one victory, and I want to give a shout out to Michael DeTurf for getting those stats updated for the community. They need a little bit more updating, a little bit of a nudge for him there. He knows I'm nudging him, but he has had a victory. It has been a while since Jack had a victory on the broadcast, and in fact, I have to look. It was Circuit of the Americas, and that just shows how long ago it was. It was over a year ago, in March last year. Maybe he's going to try and find a good way to get by. You can see holding on. He's had a change to his rig setup and everything this season. It's really working for him, but he needs to get past JD fast, because look at that gap between Noah Lundberg and JD Rodriguez already after 2 laps.
Used to be that the rig wouldn't make that much of a difference, but with all the ability to have affordable force feedback direct drive wheels these days, plus especially force feedback brakes these days, it makes a huge difference when you can get those improvements in. Oh, there you can see the battle here. Ian Haycox, Romain Bello side by side. Ian with a good run off of the corner onto the back straight is going to be able to get that retain that position from Romain, but Romain Bello, major front end damage right now.
Yeah, I think Romain was the driver that got a little bit of an issue on the green flag with one of the drivers. We do see some issues. Hamilton Berra Ruiz, Henning Swivig, Justin Hiroda, they've had it coming together on the timing tower. They've gone down the order. Very interesting. I just want to say that was Ian Haycox going around the outside of turn 8, which is a very, very impossible thing to do. Fantastic work for him. Can't confirm Hiroda's gone into the good run for Ian Haycox. We can just see him through the mist. It's not raining, but you can see that Craytrick, a little bit of damage on the rear of that car. He's not going to give this. You've got to slow the car so hard if you're making the overtake here. And that's great work for Haycock to make that move. And now everyone's bunched up. Now he's going to try and work his way to get up to Sam Skogan.
Absolutely. This pack is now fairly long. Ian Haycock's 10th position, all the way down to Josh Brain in 15th. The bottom of the, the top of the top 20, trying to hold it on right now. You can see Martin Kraytrick, or Romain Bello rather, going for a late dive on Martin Kraytrick. We're going to see what happened to Hiroda. He just took it too deep into 1, and with the humidity we have, there's no grip for those rear tires, and he just absolutely slams it into the tire barrier.
Yeah, did what he could, but at that point, you're trying to hold the car, and that ground effect is going to say goodbye at some point. Good move on the GTOs, but we get back to these battles. Jacob Reed still trying to catch up to McCannos. Real good racing. Valente is just holding his time. I'm looking at the map. They're nowhere near the GTO traffic yet. We know that's going to put a massive spanner in the works out here today, but they're not looking at that at the moment as Valente comes down Seaside Way. Nothing to boot yet, and this is what they're going to do a lot. They're just going to hold on. These three now got a 2.5 lead to the rest of the field, to Bjorkland. So there's no need for them to start attacking. Valentea to 108.9 last time. Even if it's slower this time, they're still faster than the rest of the field. Why battle now, pull out that lead, and then go for it with 20 minutes to go?
Absolutely. Jacob Reed's looking at Nick McConnell thinking to himself, I'm better through the traffic than Nick. And Valenteus is looking at Reed and McConnell thinking, I'm better through the traffic than both of them. Here is James Berry trying to make a move on Farron Grau. This is going to be through on the outside of 1. It's a hard move to make. Can't get it done this time.
No, can't get it done. And I wonder if he actually just gave up on that opportunity, because you have to be really good on the brakes there. And I think he just decided it was not worth it. Let's just hold on that line, so then we're not having any issues. We're not going for any aggressive moves or anything like that. Henning Swibeg has had a bit of a moment. He tried to avoid having a mascara after he loses the position in the background, but these three continue on. And it's interesting to see how we've now got battles. And there's a battle, then there's a gap. There's a battle, then there's a gap. It's really interesting to see how the GTP field has spread out a little bit and still kept together. Again, one more lap, I feel. I feel it's either one more lap or it's this lap that these leaders will hit the traffic. The gap between them, it's 7 seconds. It's going to be right at the end here at the hairpin, Adam, next lap.
I think it's actually going to be out of the fountain where they're going to first catch up to Carlos Fonseca here. Just out of the fountain section, either that or onto the back straight. Our leaders, as you can see, Nick Makanos, not as quick in a straight line as Jacob Reed, but Nick probably smartly for this particular race, taking a little bit more downforce to try and be a little bit more nimble, especially when you get into the traffic. That's going to matter more. Here they come. Nick Makanos is going to be coming up on the back of Carlos Fonseca. As you can see, Andres Valenteus bouncing over the curves, just clipping the outside wall there with his left rear wing. And now they're about to catch up to Carlos Fonseca as they get onto the back straightaway, and things are going to get a little complicated.
Yep, gap to Fonseca is a second now. So Adam was right there. I was a little bit wrong. Fonseca just running a little bit slower, and that delta not working. But he's going to be held up here. It's going to be a late send, and you could see that late send on Valenteus there for Makanos. Not sure that's going to work because these two will go around the outside into the Indy left, and they're back up together. Real good work here. The driver's trying to avoid hitting other drivers. Now they'll come through. They'll probably get through 3 GTOs. May not even be that. It may only be 2 here. Going to be interesting to see if they all get by Josh Brain before they come to braking. Valenteus may get held up here. They may have to say hello to Bjorklund, and it's actually more than Valenteus. Even Reed gets held up here.
Yeah, but it's not going to make that much of a difference because Makanos is getting held up by Emerson Gowden just ahead. So it's not that big of a holdup. And you can see Valenteus wanting to make a move there on Reed. Couldn't quite do it because Josh Brain was holding him up. But I have known Valenteus to take that little straight and try and dive it up the inside of the Audis. It tends to work if you communicate it early, but as you can see, the Audi's starting to separate this battle, but Valenteus trying to look for opportunities. He's going to dive to the inside there of Bello and to the inside of Reed. Reed's going to try the over-under, but Valenteus gets good traction, and he gets 2 for the price of 1 in both classes.
He did a Hakkinen. He absolutely did a Hakkinen. He's going to do a double overtake, and that is brilliant. Reed cannot do the double overtake. Valenteus can. And I know they're still going to be bunched up when they come to the hairpin, but putting that extra car just gave him a bit of a relief here. Didn't have to worry about the hairpin, and now he knows that Reed does not get the good run on the hairpin. See the car they got to go through. This is good for Makanos. Makanos is just continuing to push on. Doesn't need to worry too much. He's halfway through this field. Valenteus is always going to try and be a car ahead. No, he's there right away. He's right up there. Very good. They'll come to P9 for Sam Skogan. Looking at these battles here, the back 5 cars, even 6 cars. The next 6 cars they'll come through, they're not battling each other. So there should be a few gaps here for these GTPs, not just the leaders, but later on when the rest of the field come by.
You're not missing anything in the lead of the GTOs except for the fact that Jorman Van Hicks has been able to catch up to the back of the top 3. There you see Cal Young looking for a move to the inside of Kim Andre Bjorklund. Fortunately for Cal Young, not able to get it done that time, but the traffic may come into play. Cal backing up, trying to get a good launch on the exit here, but still not close enough to make the move this time.
No, it's a patient game. We know that this is the important corner hit to straight here, Seaside Way, to try and set yourself up for some moves. Not work for him. That Alex Mass going, yep, Alex Mass is behind him, just overshot the corner. He goes into the runoff. He's going to lose a position or 2 or 3 even in the GTOs, but these guys continuing. Just look how much Bjorklund has to work. He couldn't get on the throttle right away on the exit at the hairpin because of that GTO ahead of Sam Skogan, and he's going to struggle with these two. Now battling. Valenteus, he managed to pull away from Reed, and now Reed's going to be brought right back into it. They've gone and only passed Cotasalo in 8th for the GTO. They still haven't hit the top half of this GTO field, and that's just because, number 1, the spread of these GTOs, and number 2, just the pace difference. Again, that delta of 8 seconds on a track that's basically 70 seconds here, Adam. That's not a big delta.
No, it's not. We haven't mentioned it, but this is actually top split of 2 splits for the IMSA Vintage series today. So these are the highest I-rated drivers. And wow, Jacob Reed taking a very late lunge there. You can see in the background. Going past Doug Cloud is Nick Makanos and Andres Valenteus. Valenteus is going to follow Nick through on Mickey Friesen here. Mickey down in 6th position, not having the race that he wants at the moment, falling back a little bit. And look at this, Valenteus and, oh my goodness, Reed, absolutely a late send there. But you can see the left side of Valenteus's car. He's clipped a little bit there. Henrik Strybeck going around in the background of the GTPs as well, not having a race that he wants either.
Yeah, Ferenc Grau, he's come to a stop. Something's happened to Ferenc Grau. Did he go into the back of somebody? Oh, he went to the back of somebody. He waited for them. I think he tried to wait for them. Had a bit of a power issue as well. He let some drivers through. This is Ferenc Grau just coming up there. Didn't see who he hit. It was, I think it was Swebeg. Just Swebeg, just out of nowhere, just a bit too hot. It's the other way around, sorry. Just
this is a very, yeah, this is an earlier incident with Ferenc Grau where Ferenc got concertina up in that traffic. And that's what sent him back in the back of the field. And then he did get into the back of Henrik Strybeck, and that's why he's fallen back. Nick McConnell's making a late lunge on our leaders in the GTOs. You got to hold them up just a little bit, holding up Jack David Spickett. Joran Van Hicks possibly with an opportunity into the braking zone. He might be able to follow Jacob Reed through. He thinks better of it and to live another day. But Jacob Reed trying to get himself close back to the bumper of Andres Valenteus, who's right on board with Joran Van Hicks, who's tucked in behind Jack David Spickett in third.
Yeah, and this time Jacob could not make that send into the hairpin. Didn't have the run, didn't have the momentum. He had to just hold behind JD Rodriguez. That's going to hold him up. There's just one more GTO to get by, and then they're back to just racing on their own for a bit. And you can see McCannell's get by, but this is the battle we're looking at for the GTOs as well, because when GTOs have the traffic, they also get affected in their battles. And Van Hicks trying to hold on to Jack David Spickett. We know the pedigree of driver Van Hicks is around here. If you've not seen it before in the iRacing Top 10, this was the Top 10 moment with Van Hicks, winning the GTOs around the outside of that hairpin. So he knows how to capitalize and take advantage of what track there is and what tarmac there is. He's just got to get there, and it's early days. They're not even halfway. They've only just hit a quarter of the race, just keeping it safe. But again, you've got to feel they want to try and catch up to JD, because that gap with Lundberg between JD and Lundberg is now 1.5 seconds.
27.5 minutes to go out of 40 minutes. We started with 40 on the clock for these drivers and well into the traffic at this point. About half of the track is clear, and our top three in the GTPs just cleared the leaders in the GTOs, so they should be relatively free and clear to battle amongst themselves for the next couple of laps. But Joran Van Hicks and Jack David Spickett, Joran definitely looking for an opportunity here. He needs to get past Jack David Spickett in order to claw his way back up to JD Rodriguez and try and get up to Noah Lundberg, who's leading this race.
That's what they want to do right now. I think they realize, but they are in the thick of this traffic. Look at the cars coming on by. Well, look at what Emerson Golden's got to look by. He's trying to get around Martin Krajcik, and he's going to try and make this, but Krajcik will try and fight this around the outside of Indy, and really good racing. They're going to go side by side through Indy left, and Golden has that inside for the hairpin, manages to hold it again. As Krajcik trying that over-under never works. Pereira Ruiz almost comes into the back of them, and Krajcik then had to go on the defense from Alex Mas as they continue on. He gets a really good run. This is actually interesting, because Krajcik now gets to run coming down at the start-finish straight, and Alex Mas, still here. 3 cars all battling to position. Golden to the inside. Will he hold on to this? If Krajcik holds this round the outside, that's a fantastic move. And Martin Krajcik round the outside of the Toyota corner. Cool as you like. What a move.
Yeah, Godin has some left rear damage that's affecting his drive on the left rear tire, so it's probably making him very loose when he turns right, and that can definitely affect your driving. Makes it really challenging to get the power down with all 4 wheels. It's an all-wheel drive machine, and sometimes that all-wheel drive, that drive on that wheel can get affected. As you can see, Henrik Strybeck trying to recover. He's going to dive to the inside of Godin and create the opportunity for Alex Mas to go by. Mas with a little bit of a misshift. Unfortunately, he jumps back on it and is good as they get onto the back straight.
And that's kind of the move you want to see happen in some of these cars. Use the GTP to your advantage. Make that move. If they're going to punch a hole for you, you go and use that hole. And that's just what Alex just went to use there. Now he's going to be battling Martin Krajcik. I do wonder if that damage from Golden is starting to just pull him back further and further. It's so unfortunate for that. But he just has to keep on battling. You're not missing anything in the lead GTP battle. We don't need to get to that, but we are right here. The top 3 all close together as they come down Seaside Wave once again. They're going to get bored of seeing those palm trees for another 25 minutes, but I know that they're going to be loving the battle. And look at the pace that Reed carries into the Firestone turn there. Really interesting just to see what he carries, and then just cooks it a little bit of a slide for Valenteus coming out of the hairpin. Very interesting lines. I'm keeping my eyes on that hairpin, Adam, because who can get the throttle down the easiest and the quickest will be very vital when we come to overtakes later in the race.
I've noticed that Reed is taking it very deep into the corners under braking, and that's not actually translating into lap time. It's definitely getting him close to the bumper of Valenteus, but he just actually misjudged the exit of the swimming pool section and just clipped it just a little. Sorry, the fountain section, just clipped it just a little bit there, the outside wall. So he might have some left side damage at this point. Interested to see whether or not he keeps his wheel straight.
Yeah, I'm keeping my eyes as well on the old meatball flags.
Ben Hicks got past JDS.
Yes, I just was about to bring that on. JDS losing that position as Van Hicks gets on by. I just saw that as you came to me there, and it was an overtake. Really late braking. No, it was actually JDS actually locked up going into turn 1. Need to check. Did he actually hit the wall? It looks like he may have tapped the wall a little bit, and JDS losing time as these three continue on. Here's the replay. Let's just look at this. He goes in. He's gone a bit too hot straight away. You can tell he's gone into... Oh, he misses it. Oh, my word. That is so tight. Gets it by. All he does is lose a position. He can get that back. He's still got his car in one piece.
Jacob Reed now stuck behind Maximilian Tanger, last driver of the GTOs. He's a lap down from the rest of the field right now and is definitely the driver who's off pace. Looks like Kim Andre Bjorklund just lost a position to Cal Young. Cal Young jumping up to 4th spot now in the GTPs. Look at how close Valenteus is behind Nick Makanos, though, as they get onto the back straight.
They'll come onto the back straight. They'll hit the cat turn right now. And down into Pine Avenue they'll go for the 15th time. And now to the right into Seaside Way. And again, Valenteus is too far away. Be looking at a move, and Jacob Reed lost a lot of time, and he's begging for a little bit of traffic to help him. 3 seconds up the road is Kraytrick. They are not going to be able to hold and get hit by the traffic here. The Valenteus is going to have to look for other ways by. Lovely camera angle by Christian there on there as we see Kraytrick going to the pits. This is the run he needs, a little bit of an IndyCar weave for Makanos. Nothing this time. He really has to wait for traffic here, I feel. Valenteus just can't get that braking. We know he's good on late braking, as he just showed. I just feel you're not going to be able to do that into turn 1.
No, he's going to have to find a way to take advantage of a mistake from Makanos in order to get by. I think that's the only way he's going to be able to make this move. Yeah, it's been interesting to watch the two of them. Valenteus absolutely taking every chance. He just absolutely sent it over the curbing there. Not worried about the underside of the vehicle at all. It's a 40-minute race, so there's no pit stops for these drivers. Look at this, though. This might be the opportunity that Valenteus is looking for. He sends it up the inside, and he's going to take first position away from Makanos with a late send, and Jacob Reed is going to sneak by into second as well. Makanos left napping.
There was a GTO right there, and something had to give. Something had to give for these drivers, and it was basically Makanos had to slow it down. Valenteus just had all that momentum. They had to slow down, and it was almost like F1, first to the apex. And look at Makanos. He just sent it straight in. That bodywork scraping from touching the wall. He realizes he needs to keep up with these two, because now the two big dogs, the number 1 and number 2, are leading the pack. He has to hope for traffic to try and keep up with these guys. I'm not saying Makanos can't keep up with them, but once you let Valenteus loose, well, you're just going to have to say how far you were, not how close you were.
Yeah, and historically, the only driver who's been able to keep pace with Valenteus through the traffic has been Jacob Reed, and so Jacob is now the one who's tucked in behind as we look at the 007 cam from Valenteus. Valenteus, though, is very demanding when it comes to multiclass. He's very clearly communicates to the other class where he's going to go, but he doesn't wait around. As you can see, he's absolutely sending it up the inside as they go towards the straightaway. Oh my goodness, and Nick Makanos sending it up the inside of Alex Moss there to try and get through. He's going to lose a little bit of time, but Jacob Reed navigating this traffic fairly well, but he needs to make sure to stay onto the back of Valenteus. Now, Valenteus did not qualify well. Remember, his first lap was invalidated, his second lap put him in 3rd position. So there is an opportunity here for Jacob Reed. If he has better race pace than Valenteus, which is a big if, he has an opportunity to stay with Valenteus and possibly pick the win.
Could be interesting. We've seen these guys go toe-to-toe before. And again, I did talk about that interesting moment earlier in the week. where Jacob, unfortunately, I'm going to knock on wood, it doesn't happen this time, had a lot of performance issues and internet issues. Now they're back together, held up from Ian Haycox. Again, look how tight and look how slow it is. You can't make an overtake here. And that's a light tap. That's a tap there. And did Valenteus hit the tire barrier? That was an ambitious move there for Valenteus. I think he's going to be okay, but I think he's realized I might be a little bit desperate. I might want to get by to put some space between me and Jacob. That's not going to work again because realistically, Ian had to turn in at some point.
That was a good line from Jacob Reed. He opened up the corner a little bit. Valenteus taking a very shallow line. Reed has an opportunity here, but Valenteus is going to cover it off with just a little bit of a fade to the middle of the track. And look at this. Nick Picados is caught up to the back to the two of them because of the traffic that they had through the fountain section. Now, Jacob Reed has to think to himself, he hasn't gotten a good exit out of the hairpin yet, but Valenteus gets a worse one. He spins the rear tires. Here comes Jacob Reed with a head of steam, but he's going to have to go around the outside. He's got to take to the inside here. Valenteus leaving it open. He thinks he can outbrake Jacob Reed, but the radius of the corner is going to be better for Reed, but Valenteus takes it deep into the corner. Can he make turn one? The answer is yes, but Reed back up the inside. He has to back out of it into the fountain section. Nick McConnell's looking for a way by.
McCannels is looking at Jacob Reed, tried his best. The over-under was on, but the speed they both had to scrub off was just not possible. And now they just hold together, and McCannels has got the blessing he needed. Costosalo's going to be the next car they'll come up to. They'll all have to wait behind. Put the brakes on. Costosalo actually goes a little bit wide, compromises everybody's line here, and that allows Valenteus to get by. Let's see the lines these guys take this time. It's a better, smoother line for McCannell. He had touched the wall on the exit, though, but for Reed, it's looking clean for him. That's what he needed, though. He just needed that one moment to just catch Valenteus napping, and I think that's the third time we've seen Valenteus lose the rear on throttle of the hairpin today.
So is it going to happen again? What is Valenteus going to do here? He's very measured, very clean. It's Jacob Reed who loses the rear on throttle just a little bit, and he's going to lose 2/10 because of it. This is the issue with the hairpin. It's one of the most frustrating parts of this race course for sure. It's Alex Mass. Looks like he's gone around in the GTOs as well.
It's a pileup. Sorry, it's a pileup. It's caught a few drivers out. It's Brendan Lim as well caught out in it. And another GTP driver got caught out.
Yeah, it was Josh Brain, Brendan Lim, looks like it was Ryan Ware as well, who are all involved in this pileup coming out of the hairpin, unfortunately. So they're all going to have major damage.
So unfortunate there. We'll look at that in a moment when we get a breath of fresh air. We'll look at it, but these three still continue the battle. They have got a slow car up ahead. It's Carlos Fonseca. Carlos Fonseca, it's on the inside, it's on the outside of the corner. Thankfully, he used the runoff line there. That could have been very dangerous, but he was able to get out of the way. Yeah, this is very touch and go. It's a good thing these cars have got lights so we can see them, Adam. The GTOs don't have lights. I've got to give a hats off to Christian for the angles and the cameras we're getting today, because in these conditions and this weather, it is oh so tough. Who gets a good run this time? I almost want to say it was Reed, but he couldn't get it into gear quick enough.
Yeah, he was in gear. He just was spinning the rear tires again. Just barely on the edge of grip. He's got a good run, but it's just not going to be close enough to make a dive into turn one, unless, of course, you're Andres Valenteus, in which case you try to take dives just about anywhere, but here they come up to Doug Cloud. They should catch him right on the exit of the fountain section.
Yeah, but they got Doug Cloud, and then Doug Cloud with Mickey Friesen having a little battle. Mickey Friesen battling Johanni Kaminen. So they're about to come up to a little bit of a group of cars there. They'll get past Doug Cloud, hopefully with no problem. In fact, the front two both get through. No problem. Doug's not going to try and fight this. He goes in. Brendan Lynn's into the pit trying to get some repairs. We'll look at that in a moment. Now comes the interesting part. They're going to get held up here. There's no room for them to make a late move. And now hopefully they'll get the run here. Another tap of the wall for Jacob Reed, and that was a big tap. And that hopefully shouldn't cause a lot of damage, but he's not going to get past. In fact, it's one car he gets by. He's going to be stuck behind Cameron here. He's going to lose a lot of time to Valenteus if he doesn't get round quickly.
Yeah, but the GTPs can sweep around the outside of this corner, and he does, but this shallows up his entry to the hairpin, which means he'll lose another 2/10 on the exit. So Valenteus starting to run away a little bit. They're going to catch up. Valenteus catching up to Jack David Spickner's falling off the back of the top three. In fact, the top four the top five in the GTOs are all separated by about 10 seconds. That's about 2 seconds per piece separating them. Let's see what happened here with that big pileup. This is Ryan Ware. He's going to come up upon it a little bit later, and there you can see the slow car. And I can just report that Jack David Spickett has just spun it around in turn one, and Jacob Reed had to avoid that, so we lost even more time. So unfortunately for Jack David Spickett, his shot at the win is not going to happen. And Nick McConnell's has gone around now, and he's taken a tow.
McCannell's got hit by Jack David Spickett, and as he's trying to get out the way, he accidentally hit Mickey Friesen as well. McCannell's is in the wall after some serious damage. He tried to get around. He was unfortunate. Jacob Reed just barely missed a spinning Jack David Spickett. There was nowhere for McCannell's to go. Could not slow down in time. Nobody's fault. He tried to get the car off the track, but the steering was bent, and he did cause some damage to Mickey Friesen. Not sure what damage he's got. Will probably not a lot of damage that will affect him, but this has put big changes to the race. This is McCannell trying to come around. Nowhere you can go. Nowhere you can go. And as he starts to slow down, he tries to think, oh, I can take this. I can take this. He gets kicked out there. He goes onto the throttle and just collects Friesen by accident. Look at the damage he's caused. He almost went into the back of Doug Cloud there. He was just trying to keep the car safe, but he was also meant that the drivers were not aware he was damaged, kept it a little bit unpredictable, not by purpose.
Jacob Reed was out of the draft of Andres Valenteus, but now Valenteus getting caught behind our leader, Noah Lundberg, in the GTOs. But man, Reed absolutely clobbering the curbs there, coming through 5, and he's going to now be stuck behind Lundberg for a turn. So he's trying to gain that time back on Valenteus. It's underneath a second once again. He's trying to make sure that Valenteus does not escape. 13 and a half minutes left to go in this 40-minute race.
Have we really had 25 minutes already? This has been one of the more entertaining Long Beach races we've seen in a while, because look how close it's been at the front of one field. When you've got Valenteus in a field, you usually look at it and go, well, is it going to be 5 seconds? Is it going to be 10 seconds today? No, he's been unable to not only get the lead away from McCannell for such a while, but then also hold on to this and not have someone be towed around. Jacob Reed, he's just in that slipstream. He's still there. He's hanging on. And these two have put a 10-second gap on the rest of the field while they've been battling, especially again with these slots. This is Colin Pearl, who's having a little battle with Ruiz. He just lost a position to Ruiz as he goes on by. Noah Lundberg still leading 2.5 seconds. It's safe to say that those drivers that had a chance to catch him, they were unable to catch him. And I think, knock on wood, that's what we're going to see for the rest of the GTO field.
Yeah, absolutely. For Noah Lundberg, it's just going to be a matter of survival at the front of the GTO field. So he just needs to make sure that he doesn't get sent by a GTP throughout the rest of this race. JD Rodriguez, he needs to try and fight with everything he's got and try and block some of those GTP late dives down to the apexes that take away his time. It'll be interesting. You know, one of those just happened to him, unfortunately. So JD should get a decent exit here, but that hesitation, you lose tenths due to that. And Andres Valenteus losing a lot of time into the hairpin. It's now nose to tail for Jacob Reed and Valenteus once again.
Yeah, a little bit of hesitation there. Didn't know where to go with Martin Krajcik, who took a little bit of an unconventional line. I think the curbs just put Krajcik off a little bit, and that did allow Valenteus not to be able to make the move he wanted to. So they are back together once again. They're reunited, and it feels oh so good for the broadcast as they come on. 007 camera once again as Valenteus. Now he's got to look 8 seconds up the road. It's the next car, it's Emerson Golden. He's battling Alex Mass, but there's a gap between the two of them, so he might be able to slip in there. But when will he hit them? It's going to be at the end of the track. It's going to be tough. Remember, we started with 19 cars and 17 cars. We are down to 13 on the lead lap and 12 on the same lap as the GTO leader. It has claimed a few victims today, but the racing is still close out here today, Adam, and the track hasn't even warmed up.
I didn't think it was possible to get a Long Beach stripe, but here we are. Here's what happened with Doug Cloud. Doug goes into the tire barriers there, and then he misshifts a little bit and then tries to get it going. So unfortunately for Doug, he's losing a little bit of time there. There we see Valenteus and Reed with a lot of Long Beach stripes off of that exit of 5, where they're just starting to scrape that outside wall coming off of those bouncing curves. The track cambers away from you through turn 5, and then you have the curbing on the sawtooth curbing on the inside of the turn as well that sends you out wide. So you actually turn in essentially like you're going to aim at the apex, and due to the camber and the curbing, you get absolutely sent out wide. Let's see what happens here as they try and get past Gowden. It's going to be challenging to do before turn 5. Andres thinks about it but can't quite do it. They're going to take it slow through this corner. Valenteus trying to get some good speed down.
Yeah, but the way that Jacob just went a little bit wide, he lost a lot of time. Like I said, oh, he almost went into the back of Alex Mass. Well, that was so close. Valenteus is putting his life in the GTO's hands today, and a lockup from Mass is going to hold up Jacob Reed. This is Valenteus driving. This is the only battle at the moment on the racetrack that is so close, and you can see why. I was going to talk about how Valenteus has decided not to go for that move out of Pine Avenue, just before Pine Avenue, because he realized what happened last time being Haycock. But then he goes for that move again, going into Seaside Way, and he almost got collected from Alex Mass. This is so tight, and Jacob Rees is watching this all going, just one small mistake, and I've got you. How long can Valenteus play with candles lit on both sides?
Well, that's just it. This is the first time I've seen Valenteus look phased over the course of this entire season in either class. He looks his weakest today that he has all season long, and Jacob Reed is smelling blood in the water.
This is going to be interesting. Again, another car holds them up. It's Roman Bello, and a better line this time from Jacob Reed, but he can't get the throttle down at him. He's oh so close. He gets by again. I'm not saying this is the place you can make an overtake, because you can't make an overtake. You're having Mascara in the background overtaking James Barry for P8 on the timing tower. As you see, this is the only place. This and the Bridgestone Bend are the only places really that Jacob can look for an overtake. He has to hope for traffic. There is a lot of traffic. And I'll tell you what else I see on the map. There's a lot of GTP lap traffic coming up as well. That is just the pace that these two have been going today. But look at the cars they got to go through right now, Adam. 3 GTOs up ahead. They're not going to get past all of them.
8.5 minutes left to go. These drivers don't have that many laps left. It's going to be about 6 to 7 laps left for these drivers. But they're going to have to go through, like you said, GTO and GTP traffic. GTP traffic has not had any left. Oh my goodness. Audrey, he took a look there on the inside of Sam Skosgard, but now they're going to be stuck behind him through the fountain section. You cannot pass through here. It's not possible. And Valenteus is stuck behind Sam. He's going to send it up the inside here of turn 5, and Sam's going to have to take it wide, but he's got a bad line. Jacob Reed, he had an opportunity for a better line, but he was worried about where Sam was going to go. He doesn't take an advantage of it. Now they're going to catch up to the first lap GTP up the road. It's going to be Henrik Schreibeck, who's a fairly quick driver, so it's going to be a while before they catch him. It's another opportunity for Valenteus to stretch his legs.
But this is an opportunity for Jacob to use the slipstream now. There's no traffic. They're going to hit 1 car next lap. Maybe 2 at the best, but it's definitely Cotasalo, P7 in the race. That's the only GTO that they'll be hitting this time by. You're not missing anything else, whereas Andrew Petty on the timing tower, he gets past James Barry, who's not having the best of races at the moment. In fact, he's had a moment out there on track. This is Hamilton Ferreira Ruiz. As he's continuing on, that's James Barry. He's realized that he can't make the turn. Wouldn't be surprised if he's got a lot of damage there. Is this a moment where he's just gone a bit too tight going in? Oh, he's gone too aggressive. And I think he collected. That was that Ferreira Ruiz he did.
That was Fabian Jungbluth that he collects, and Ferreira Ruiz from the GTOs as well. So just a really deep send there. We've seen that before from drivers like Nick McConos, but unfortunately that one making contact with the other drivers. Here we are back to this battle, and look at this. That's James Barry, who they're catching up to, the driver we just talked about. And James, very slow, very damaged. Is he looking in his rearview mirror right now?
Well, he'd get blue flags right away, and he'd be told about the blue flag. Will he let them by? And at the moment, the answer is no, but he's so down on speed, I don't think he's got anything to say. Will they get past Cotasalo? Late braking for Valenteus. He's really good. The door's been opened as well for Jacob Reed, and he holds onto it. And that's not what Valenteus wanted to see. Cotasalo sacrificed his own race. He's not really battling anyone at the moment, so that's respectful for him. And now he just has to get going. Again, not good throttle exit there for Jacob Reed. He's going to try, but I'm starting to see. Can you see through the haze? The humidity is starting to drop here. That's going to help with the downforce. This could be an interesting finish to this race with 5 minutes to go. 5 3/4 minutes left to go for these drivers. Jacob Reed really on the back. You can see the track starting to brighten up. The temperature is starting to rise a little bit. 73 degrees on track is a little bit of a rear bump from Valenteus. Fortunately, no damage to speak of. This is going to, I don't know who it's going to benefit at this particular track. I don't think they've driven conditions like this in a while. Here they catch up to Doug Cloud. Doug clicks the inside wall. That's going to hold up Valenteus just a little bit. Not enough to create an opportunity for Jacob Reed to send it up the inside. Oh my goodness.
Jacob absolutely keeping the pressure on. They're going to catch up to Colin Earl next. Colin is a lapped GTP, and so they're going to have to navigate him as they're going to come through this next lap. 5 minutes to go.
And not a good hairpin for Jacob Reed. Once again, it's just a little bit unfortunate for him, as he's going to have to now hope for the best. Look at the traffic. 2 seconds up the road is Earl. 4 seconds up the road is Swibig. Up the road is Swibig. They do have a GTO in the mix of that as well. So it's interesting. Where do you start to take the risks? You know that Valenteus is fantastic at late braking. In fact,
Andre Borkland's around on at the exit of the hairpin, just spun up the rear tires. Unfortunately, they're back recovered, but they lost the position to Gabriel Martinez.
Lost the position of the Gabby Martinez. That's unfortunate. He's now in a battle with Youngblood, and that's a lot of worn tyres for them as well. But this is Reed, closest he's been. A second and a half up the road is that Colonel. He'll get the blue flags right away. Will he slow down here, or will he have to wait till the start-finish line? He's got on the brakes right away, but look where he's got on the brakes. It's on off the racing line. So if Jacob had a good run there, he wouldn't have been able to do that. Real good, respectful driving, though, from Earl, understanding what's happening. They all know what this is it. We've talked about this, Adam, for 3 seasons. 3 seasons, you and I have talked about this. We need someone to beat Valenteus. We need someone to fight Valenteus. I'm not saying we don't like Valenteus. We're just saying we need this competition. We finally got it here today with a barn burner with 9 minutes to go.
Absolutely. I used to cover the Northwest Truck Series, and there was a driver in that series as well that was undefeatable, and drivers just got out of their way. I always said that you're only going to win the races that you fight for, and this is an opportunity for Jacob Reed to fight for the battle for the win from Andres Valenteus. They've now got Henrik Schreibeck and Mickey Friesen that's going to hold them up. This is the best opportunity for the most chaos that Jacob Reed has had. He's got to find a way to use it.
Don't know if he's going to find a way to use it. In fact, he's got to split through the middle, and split through the middle they both do, and he gets on by. Who gets the better run from this? Reed cannot get a good run here. The dirty air is starting to hinder him a little bit, and he just cannot find those lines, and he then gets a really good line to hit Seaside Way, but nothing to gain from it, nothing to go. 2.5 seconds up the road is Cameron. They're going to hit Cameron coming to the hairpin, maybe just on the exit. This could be interesting, because the first man to hit Cameron when they come to the exit with Valenteus. Can he get on the throttle in time? This is going to be very interesting. It's not. Reed gets a good run. This could be a good little run down to the start-finish line. 2.5 to go, Adam. I think it's not enough, though. No,
Valenteus has the draft from Cameron, and Reed's going to have to send it deep through turn 1 in order to make this work. By the way, if you're wondering where the need for the push to pass at IndyCar came from, I present to you the hairpin at Long Beach. Here comes through turn 1, Valenteus and Reed. Reed, because of the draft that Valenteus got off of the back of Cameron, nothing doing. I can also report a second and a half is the gap between wow, actually it is about 4 seconds between Noah Lundberg and JD Rodriguez for the lead of the GTO, so you're not missing anything there. 2 minutes to go here at Long Beach.
Yeah, let's look at what happened to Bjorklund earlier, and he just gets through and he had such a good run. It was such a flowing hairpin there. He had that perfect. And then I think he just got on the throttle a bit too hard. These guys got on the throttle a bit too hard as Martin Krajcik held up once again. Valenteus just not getting the exit he wants, and Reed close again. But rinse, repeat, hit replay on that vinyl record, because it's a broken record, and I'm going to keep singing it. Again, held up, and 2 GTOs. It's Van Hicks and JD Rodriguez battling for second, and again, Valenteus gets a better launch off the hairpin.
And it's going to be the penultimate lap here. 118, they cross the line. They're doing 110s, so it's 2 more laps for these drivers, and they're just passing the leaders in the GTOs as well. So it's going to be 2 more laps for them as well. As Josh Brain is, it's JD Rodriguez who's next, and they're going to be held up behind him through the fountain section. You can see Jacob Reed looking for an opportunity. He thought he might be able to get a good squirt out of the corner. Can't quite get it done this time. Look at this, Valenteus taking the opportunity to go up the inside through turn 5. That's going to put the cork in the bottle. Jacob Reed held up behind Rodriguez. Rodriguez still quick through 5, and that's going to create about 0.3 of a gap. But now Valenteus going to be held up just a little bit behind Josh Brain as they go over the crest. And Jacob Reed's going to have to send it up the inside, and he does so. But he's not going to have the best line onto the back straightaway. That's going to create a gap for Valenteus coming towards the white flag. They're going to be really struggling to try and get past the rest of this traffic. There's quite a bit of traffic up ahead of them on the final lap.
I think he's going to be okay, but this is it. Is it going to be win 26th in the GTP, or is it going to be Jacob Reed finally dethroning Valenteus, and the perfect season once again is hindered? Real good time. Did I see a slide there from Jacob Reed? He went too close to the line. That's not going to help him because Valenteus had a good run to get past Lundberg for the first corner. I don't think Jacob's going to get there. There's Lundberg. He gets to the side. It's going to have to be late braking for Jacob Reed, and he gets it. That's an important one as they start the final lap, Adam, but I think it may be all for nothing.
And don't look now, but Joran Van Hicks is right on the back of JD Rodriguez for second position in the GTOs. That's just for some hauls of points that he needs to try and make up the gap for some of the races that he's missed this season that is threatening his opportunity at the lead. There you see it up in the picture-in-picture for Jacob Reed, 6/10 back of Valenteus. There's not many more opportunities, and they're not going to catch much more traffic before the end of this race either. Valenteus has one more straightaway to go, and that's into the complex section before the hairpin. I don't believe they're going to catch Gaudet before the end of this race, and Valenteus continuing to stretch his gap. But look at Van Hicks right on the back of JD Rodriguez. He's going to have a good opportunity towards the pass, but here comes Valenteus through the final corner, through the hairpin. Valenteus keeping up with the pressure. He's gonna secure the win here at Long Beach and win his 5th race on the trot in both classes and blows the engine across the line just for good measure. Look at them side by side through the hairpin though, Craig.
Side by side, and he's done it again, Adam! Van Hicks around the outside of Firestone to the inside of Indy and around the hairpin. It is the same thing from 6 months ago. Are you kidding me, Joran Van Hicks? You did it again! It may not be for the win, but you've done it twice on a broadcast race. I cannot believe it.
Oh my goodness, and here's Hamilton Barrera Ruiz in 10th position, putting pressure on Andrew Petty, who's got a damaged rear end here, trying to get a little bit of extra points here. Bottom of the top 10, they fight, but it's a good run through the corner for Hamilton Barrera Ruiz. And coming down towards the line, they've got a lot of traffic to deal with. Can Ruiz make a move to the inside? He's shadowing for a move, thinks better of it, but where are you going to make the pass now, Hamilton? You've got a couple of opportunities. You can take a dive through the hairpin. It's the only place, but they've got a GTO who's going to hold it up. Barrera Ruiz going for the over-under, gets a little clipped and is not going to get the position. It's going to be 9th place for Petal and Hamilton Barrera Ruiz in 10th.
Yeah, it is that as well. And notice as well, Roman Bello managing to get past Ian Haycock. Ian Haycock's not having a good final lap. Looks at the couple positions there. So it's going to be losing some time. Emerson Gordon could be the last car to finish the line. How about that, though? Cannot believe we saw that once again from Van Hicks. Again.
Unbelievable.
I can't believe it.
Well, we usually don't get that excited about races at Long Beach, but I say that and then 6 months in a row, two times 6 months in a row. It happens. Oh my goodness, what a race we had though. Valenteus is going to take the win over Jacob Reed after being under heavy pressure for the entire race ever since capturing the lead from Nick Makanos. Cal Young is going to come home in a distant 3rd with Gabriel Martinez 10 seconds behind Cal Young for 4th position. Kim Andre Bjorklund had a spin out of the hairpin after a really good run through the hairpin, but just got on the power just a little bit too early, but still recovers to 5th position. Fabian Jungbluth got into a little bit of contact with a couple of drivers throughout the race, comes home in 6th place with Daniel Gomez in 7th and Javier Mosquera in 8th. The last 2 drivers on the lead lap were that battle that we were just watching, Andrew Petty and Hamilton Barrera Ruiz. And then it's Henning Schweibig, who had a rough race today, 1 lap down. He's joined by Colin Earl, James Berry, Brendan Lim. And then Ryan Ware is 2 laps down. And then come the drivers who had trouble. Nick Makanos did not finish, as well as Dimitri Zimmerman, Farron Grau, and Dustin Heroder.
Well, GTO's a little bit quieter out there today, but it was Noah Lundberg who won the race from start to finish. He kept on to that. And Johan Van Hicks, I mean, what can we say about it? He did it again. Yes, that P2, a very vital P2 for the championship, just pipping JD Rodriguez, who had that second all race. He comes home in 3rd. Yannick Cameron will be 5th, and Mickey Friesen, unfortunately, will be 5th. And Doug Cloud will take 6th, with Ita Cotasalo 7th. Sam Skogard will be 8th. Roman Bello 9th, and Alex Mass makes up 4 positions to come home in 10th. And then it'll be Ian Haycock, who will be 11th in the next page. Had an unfortunate final lap there, was running 9th before that final lap. He comes home 11th. Emerson Gordon will be 12th. Then the retirees, or those with damage, Josh Brain will be 2 laps down for overall 13th. And then Carlos Fonseca as well, 14th, with Martin Krajcik 3 laps behind the leader in 15th. Jack David Spickett, we saw that moment there. He finished in the 16th. Maximilian Tanger, we didn't catch it. He finished in 17th position. All the cars have come home there, Adam, for a fantastic race.
Absolutely. You know, watching that move from Van Hixer on the outside of Rodriguez definitely tried to close that gap on the outside. He pushed Van Hix into the wall, but that actually was his undoing for JD, because he had a better line out of the corner and he had a nose ahead, but because of the contact that Van Hix made with the outside wall, JD bounced off of him, and that forced him to get off the gas and have to correct, and that's what lost him the position.
The moment I saw JD take the inside line going into Firestone, I said to myself, there's no way he's going to do that once again. But the line was there. So much with the late braking, he worked really well for that. In fact, yeah, here's the ears there from the hairpin, and it was a little bit of a lockup there. I think JD was trying to play the defense, and it just cost him a little bit. He can't take that hairpin too tight. You'll lose a lot of the line. It's so unfortunate, but it's a nice sunny seaside now, nice sunny fountain, and I feel I could really dip into that fountain right now. These drivers will be wanting that fountain next week, Adam. It's only fair to talk about it because it's the big one. Next week, it's the Road America 500.
Absolutely. 500 miles for these drivers. It's a team race. It is an iRacing special event, so feel free to hop in. We'll be covering the top split for the Road America 500, a fantastic race to join us for. It's going to start at a different time. It's actually going to be a little bit, about half an hour earlier than what you're seeing on your screen. There is when the broadcast is going to start, so we can be in there in time for the green flag. But that is actually going to do us for this broadcast today. We want to thank you again, IMSA Vintage community, for bringing us back for another race. And thank you to the team today, Craig, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss another moment like these on GSRC. We will see you on April 26th at 12:30 Eastern for the Road America 500. Next up on GSRC, though, is the Skip Barber Race Series at Virginia International Raceway. That's tomorrow at 5 a.m. Those guys have some fun around that track. Don't miss the other upcoming races that are shown here on your screen as well. And we hope you've enjoyed joining us today as much as we've enjoyed bringing this racing to you, and man, have we ever. We hope to see you back again soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.